how close to a recession are we? Because I know you're one of those who thinks we're far closer perhaps than people realize.
Sure. You know, there's two or three very simple points to make. I mean, if you look at the manufacturing sector in the U.S. and you look at the ISMs, I mean, you know, we've been slowing from a peak back in September of last year, and it's a leap of faith to think that, you know, something that's going down like this is suddenly going to stop here tomorrow and then start maybe to even, you know, going up, number one. Number two, people say that, you know, they sort of mixed signals, and you look at the bounce in services, but I mean, if you do actually look at services and you look at the ISMs, I mean, they've essentially been coming down in a sawtooth manner, so the last two bumps did not sustain. I would argue, you know, the U.S. economy is slowing broadly, it is slowing unambiguously, and I would argue that the U.S. economy is dangerously close to sort of tipping over into a recession. What I would argue is we are very, very close to what has historically been a stall speed for the U.S. If you look at the labor market, for example, payrolls growth, you know, is running the 6-month change at an annual rate, running at about 1.3%. That is, number one, the slowest pace that we've had in 10 years at any point in this recovery.
It's bound to slow though when the labor market gets so tight. And I guess back to your point about manufacturing, it's still only, what, 15 to 20% of the U.S. economy. Are you saying actually that you're worried about the consumer too, despite things like retail sales, because of what you're saying about the jobs market?
So consumption growth is always going to be over, you know, some period of time, tightly related basically to labor income growth, and the biggest component of that is jobs growth.
Right.
Now, just one additional point that I would make is payrolls growth in the U.S., you know, has slowed from 2.5% in the middle of last year down to 1.3%. The services sector is much bigger than the manufacturing sector, as you just said, and most of that slowing has actually come from the services sector, not the manufacturing sector, because it is much bigger. We are running at 1.3%, and I would argue that the stall speed or tipping point is around 1%. If you look at private payrolls growth historically, going all the way back to the 1960s, whenever we've gone through 1%, we've ended up in a full recession.